Jack Nicholson once said that working with Marlon Brando was like watching a genius slowly lose his mind. And that wasn't even the worst thing he allegedly said about his co-stars. For decades, Nicholson has been Hollywood's lovable rebel, the guy with the devilish grin, who could charm his way through anything. But behind those famous sunglasses and that Cheshire Cat smile, sources close to the actor say he's been keeping a mental list. 6 names. 6 actors who, according to people in his inner circle, made his legendary career feel like a prison sentence at times. Some of these names will surprise you. Others, well, let's just say the rumors have been swirling for years. And one of them involves a phone call that reportedly ended with Nicholson slamming the receiver so hard it cracked. Welcome back to the channel, where we dig into the untold stories of Hollywood's golden and not-so-golden moments. If you're a fan of classic cinema and the real drama that happened behind the cameras, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, because we've got plenty more where this came from. Today, we're talking about Jack Nicholson and the 6 actors he allegedly couldn't stand. This is going to be a deep dive, so settle in. Before we get into the list, let's talk about who Jack Nicholson really is. Born in 1937 in Neptune City, New Jersey, Nicholson didn't have the easiest start. He grew up thinking his grandmother was his mother and his actual mother was his sister. He didn't learn the truth until a Time magazine researcher told him in 1974, when he was already a major star. That kind of revelation would break most people, but Nicholson reportedly channeled it into his work. It gave him an edge, a darkness that became his trademark. By the 1970s, Nicholson was the guy everyone wanted to work with. He won his first Oscar for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in 1975, and from there, he was unstoppable. The Shining, Terms of Endearment, Batman, A Few Good Men, as good as it gets. The man has 3 Academy Awards and 12 nominations. He's been called the greatest actor of his generation by critics and peers alike. But here's the thing about Nicholson that people forget. He's never been diplomatic. In interviews throughout the 80s and 90s, he was known for speaking his mind, sometimes to a fault. He once told Rolling Stone that he believed most actors were too afraid to be honest. He said Hollywood was full of people pretending to like each other, and he wanted no part of it. According to those who worked with him, that honesty extended to his relationships on set. If he didn't like you, you knew it. And if you crossed him, sources say, he never forgot. So when rumors started circulating a few years ago that Nicholson, now 88 and largely retired from acting, had been talking privately about the actors he clashed with, people paid attention. These weren't just professional disagreements. According to insiders, these were deep, personal conflicts that shaped how Nicholson viewed Hollywood and, in some cases, entire movies he worked on. Let's get into it. Number 1 on the list is someone you might not expect, but once you hear the story, it makes perfect sense. Marlon Brando. Now, if you know anything about Hollywood history, you know Brando was a god. The Godfather. A Streetcar Named Desire. On the waterfront. The man rewrote the rulebook on acting, and in 1976, Nicholson got the chance to work with him on a western called The Missouri Breaks. On paper, it should have been magic. 2 of the greatest actors of all time sharing the screen. Instead, according to people who were on set, it was a nightmare. Brando showed up overweight, disinterested, and allegedly high on something most days. Sources claim he refused to lure his lines and instead had them written on cue cards scattered around the set. In one scene, he reportedly taped his dialogue to a tree. Nicholson, who prided himself on preparation, was furious. He'd spent weeks getting into character, studying the script, understanding every nuance. And here was Brando, one of his idols, treating the whole thing like a joke. But it gets worse. According to a 1998 interview Nicholson gave to Vanity Fair, Brando would change his performance between takes on purpose, just to throw Nicholson off. He was testing me, Nicholson allegedly said, seeing if I could keep up. But it wasn't about the craft. It was about control. Nicholson went on to say that Brando had a cruelty to him that people didn't talk about. He loved making other actors uncomfortable, reportedly because it kept him entertained. The final straw, insiders claim, came during a dinner scene. Brando allegedly improvised a bit where he stuck a carrot up his nose and started talking through it. Nicholson sat there, stone-faced, trying to stay in character. When the director yelled cut, Nicholson reportedly walked off set and didn't come back for 2 days. To this day, Nicholson has never publicly praised Brando the way most actors do. And when Brando died in 2004, Nicholson's statement was brief and cold. He was a talent, he said. Nothing more. Number 2 is going to surprise some people, but if you know the story of The Shining, it won't. Shelley Duvall. Now, before we go any further, let's be clear. Most of the tension on The Shining is usually blamed on director Stanley Kubrick. He was a notorious perfectionist who pushed Duvall to the edge during filming. Some scenes required over 100 takes. Duvall was crying, exhausted, her hair falling out from stress. It's been documented, and it's heartbreaking. But sources close to the production claim Nicholson didn't exactly help. According to a grip who worked on the film and later spoke to a documentary crew in 2012, Nicholson allegedly fed into the chaos. He reportedly encouraged Kubrick's harsh treatment of Duvall, believing it made her performance more authentic. He thought fear was the best acting tool. The grip said, and he didn't care where it came from. There's a famous story that during the baseball bat scene, where Duvall is backing away from Nicholson's character in terror, Nicholson allegedly whispered something to her off camera that made her genuinely afraid. The exact words have never been confirmed, but Duvall later told an interviewer that Nicholson stayed in character even when the cameras weren't rolling, and it made the entire experience unbearable. In the years since, Duvall has struggled with mental health issues, and while it's impossible to say exactly what caused them, many believe the trauma of The Shining played a role. Nicholson, for his part, has never apologized. In a 1986 interview, he was asked about Duvall's experience, and he reportedly shrugged and said, "That's what great performances cost." When clips of that interview resurfaced online a few years ago, people were shocked by how dismissive he sounded. And according to people who know Nicholson, he still doesn't see what he did wrong. To him, it was all in service of the film. All right, number 3. This one's been whispered about for decades, but it's never been fully confirmed until now. Tom Cruise. A Few Good Men is one of the most iconic courtroom dramas ever made. Nicholson's scene where he shouts, "You can't handle the truth," is legendary. It's been parodied, referenced, and quoted a million times. But according to insiders, the tension between Nicholson and Cruise during filming was thick enough to cut with a knife. Here's the thing. Cruise was at the peak of his career in 1992. Top Gun, Rain Man, born on the 4th of July. He was Hollywood's golden boy, and he knew it. Nicholson, on the other hand, was the seasoned veteran. He'd been doing this for 30 years, and he didn't appreciate what he saw as Cruise's Boy Scout attitude. Sources claim Nicholson felt Cruise was too polished, too rehearsed. In one on-set interview from the time, Nicholson said he preferred working with actors who lived a little. And while he didn't name names, everyone knew who he was talking about. Cruise, reportedly, was furious. The real blow-up allegedly happened during rehearsals. Cruise, ever the perfectionist, wanted to run through the courtroom scene dozens of times. Nicholson, who preferred to keep his performance fresh, refused. "I'm not a puppet," he allegedly told director Rob Reiner. "I'll do it when the cameras are rolling." Cruise reportedly saw this as unprofessional and complained to the producers. According to a 2003 article in Premiere magazine, the two actors barely spoke off camera. When they did interact, it was cold and formal. One crew member said it felt like two alpha dogs circling each other, waiting for someone to blink. Years later, in a 2007 interview, Nicholson was asked if he'd ever work with Cruise again. He paused, smiled that famous smile, and said, "Life's too short." And wait until you hear who's next on this list. Number 4 is a name that some people saw coming. Faye Dunaway. Chinatown is widely considered one of the greatest films ever made, and the chemistry between Nicholson and Dunaway is a huge part of why. But according to people who were there, that chemistry was pure acting. Off camera, they couldn't stand each other. Dunaway, like Nicholson, was known for being difficult. She was a perfectionist, demanding, and she didn't suffer fools. But sources say the real issue was that she and Nicholson were too similar. Both wanted to be the star. Both wanted control. And director Roman Polanski, dealing with his own demons at the time, reportedly let the tension fester because he thought it added to the film. There's a story that during one scene, Dunaway accused Nicholson of deliberately stepping on her lines. She allegedly stormed off set and locked herself in her trailer for 3 hours. Nicholson, meanwhile, reportedly sat in his chair, smoking a cigar, and told anyone who would listen that Dunaway was impossible. The slap scene in Chinatown, where Nicholson's character hits Dunaway's, is another point of contention. Some crew members claim Nicholson hit her harder than necessary, though Dunaway has never confirmed this. What is confirmed is that after filming Wrapped, the two never worked together again, and they've rarely spoken in public about each other. In a 1991 interview with the Los Angeles Times, Dunaway was asked about her time on Chinatown, and she said, "It was a great film. That's all that matters." When pressed about Nicholson, she simply said, "Next question." Nicholson has been slightly more forthcoming. In a 2003 interview, he called Dunaway talented but exhausting. That's about as close to praise as she's ever gotten from him. Number 5 is someone you might not expect, but once you hear the reasoning, it makes sense. Sean Penn. Nicholson and Penn never starred in a major film together, but they moved in the same circles for years. Penn directed Nicholson in a small role in The Crossing Guard in 1995, and according to sources, that's where the animosity started. Penn, known for his intensity and obsessive attention to detail, allegedly clashed with Nicholson over the character's direction. Nicholson, who rarely took direction well, reportedly told Penn, "You're a good actor. Stick to that." Penn, never one to back down, allegedly fired back with something much harsher that we can't repeat here. But the real issue, insiders say, was deeper than one film. Nicholson reportedly saw Penn as a younger version of himself, someone who thought he could change the world through acting. And Nicholson, having lived through the idealism of the 60s and 70s, felt Penn was naive. "He thinks he's important," Nicholson allegedly said to a friend. "He's not. He's just loud." Penn, for his part, has called Nicholson overrated in at least one interview, though he later walked it back. But people who know both actors say the damage was done. They avoid each other at industry events, and when Penn won his Oscars in 2004 and 2009, Nicholson was notably absent from the celebrations. And finally, number 6. This is the one that shocked people the most when rumors started circulating. Leonardo DiCaprio. The Departed was a massive success. It won Best Picture, and it reunited Nicholson with director Martin Scorsese. DiCaprio played the lead, an undercover cop, and Nicholson played a terrifying mob boss. On screen, they were electric, but according to people close to the production, off-screen was a different story. The issue, sources claim, was generational. DiCaprio represented a new Hollywood, one that Nicholson didn't fully understand or respect. DiCaprio was method, serious, and reportedly asked a lot of questions. Nicholson, who preferred to work on instinct, found this annoying. "He overthinks everything," Nicholson allegedly told Scorsese during a break. There's also a story that DiCaprio once approached Nicholson for advice on a scene, and Nicholson allegedly told him, "If you have to ask, you're not ready." DiCaprio, according to witnesses, was stunned. He walked away and didn't speak to Nicholson for the rest of the day. But the real tension, insiders say, came from the attention DiCaprio was getting. By 2006, DiCaprio was one of the biggest stars in the world, and some felt he was stealing the spotlight from Nicholson, even though Nicholson's role was more dramatic. One crew member said Nicholson seemed bitter during press events, especially when DiCaprio's name was mentioned more than his. In a 2010 interview, DiCaprio was asked about working with Nicholson, and he gave a very diplomatic answer. "He's a legend," DiCaprio said. "I learned a lot just by watching him." But people noticed he didn't say they became friends. Nicholson, meanwhile, has never publicly commented on DiCaprio, and that silence, many believe, speaks volumes. So there you have it. 6 actors. 6 complicated relationships. Jack Nicholson has lived a life full of incredible performances, but also, allegedly, a lot of conflict. Whether these stories paint him as a perfectionist or something darker is up to you to decide. Now we want to hear from you. Of all the movies we talked about today, The Shining, Chinatown, The Departed, A Few Good Men, which one is your all-time favorite Jack Nicholson performance? Drop a comment below and let us know. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's hidden feuds, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. We've got more untold stories coming your way. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.